Yeah guys, welcome. In this video we are going to cover about the design patterns and data structures. Okay, so first let us go with design patterns. So design patterns are nothing but these are going to drive you to divide your code in certain platform. So where these are easy to manage, these are helpful for us for managing the code in a better way. So we're already seen an MVC. So MVC is also a design pattern where that is going to make your manage the code. So where they can group up the models as one unit, controllers as one unit, views as one unit. So in the same way, these design patterns will be helpful for managing the code. Okay. So now especially coming to the C# design patterns. So the most famous one is singleton design pattern. So this is going to be helpful where it is going to allow you to create only one instance. That means you can create only one object at a time. So at a time in the sense while you utilizing the program, I mean in the execution you can create only one instance. So where it is helpful, especially for the cases whenever you want to avoid creating object every time, so and operate that particular functions through the object. So that is the reason singleton will be helpful for us. So once again I am telling you, singleton will be helpful for us to having only one object creation. So you are going to create it globally so that you can access that object accordingly anywhere in the program. So singleton object creation should be implemented by the developer itself. So you cannot create any object by using new keyword. So especially going forward we are going to use a topic called web API or web services. So that is going to be this singleton is going to be helpful to create object only once. So now let us implement a program where that is going to demonstrate how to use this singleton design pattern. So now we are going to create a console application, guys. So you can also implement the same program by using .NET Core and .NET Framework also. So here let me create a simple public class singleton. So don't assume design pattern will contain some predefined code or anything. You need to implement it. However, we implementing in MVC like model is separate folder, views is separate folder, controllers is separate folder. So singleton. So and one more thing, guys, comparing with this singleton along with this static keyword. So static keyword you can inherit the class even in future. So but the singleton classes always they are going to be in sealed case. So sealed in the sense in future you cannot inherit this class. That is the reason we are using the keyword sealed. It is mandatory for implementing singleton classes with a sealed keyword. So then, so here I am trying to show you a count how many times an instance is getting created. That is the reason here I am taking some static int where the count is 0. Next let me take the instance creation static, the type should be the same class. So then we are going to take an object, I mean an variable instance. So where we are going to create instance through the program, however I said. So now here let me take a constructor where this is going to print you. So what is the number of count, number of iterations or number of instances that we are going to create. So here let me write the count plus plus. So initially it is 0, first time it is going to print the counter is 1. So let me print count. So let me print the count variable here. So as I said, this count always going to be 1. It cannot go more than 1 because singleton basic thumb rule is, so you have to create an instance only once in its life cycle of the class. So now let us create the instance, that is the major one. So public static. Why I am using static in the sense, so the major intention is we should not create any objects. So the object need to be created by using this particular instance variable. That is the reason here I am going to use a static method. So the type will be singleton again. So singleton get instance. So this is a property, this is not a function, guys. So here let's take some getter and setter properties. So only get I am going to use, put is not required, get and set is not required, I mean to say. So here I am going to write logic if instance equal to null. That means if there is no instance, so then instance equal to new instance. So that's it, only once you are going to create an object. So then we are going to return that instance, because so here we had selected the return type is singleton. Sorry. Yeah. So now we had created the instance. So now let us print the details. So let us create a function to print the details. So public void. So that means, so this function will be helpful for us whether we are able to call its method without creating instance or not. So public void print details. So let's take some message. So here I am trying to print a console write line message in this function. Whatever the message you will pass, that is going to be printed on the screen. That's it. So we had implemented the singleton. Now let us test whether it is working or not. So let me keep a console read key. Now let's create instance for this singleton class. No need to use singleton, but just we are using that design pattern. That is the reason I had named it as singleton. Okay, otherwise you can use anything. So let me take the first instance. So how to create an instance? Not with this new keyword. Okay, so we are going to use the static variable singleton dot get instance, sorry, property. So then you will get the instance. So let us test whether it is working or not. So this dot print details. So let us write first. So like the same, let us create one more instance. So singleton second. You can see, so when you called this get instance, already object was created. With that object we are able to call print details. So even with this second instance, so system is not going to allocate one more object. So whichever the object is available, with the same object you are trying to work with them. So here you will write second dot print details of second. Now let me execute and show you the output. So you can see the count instance was created only once. So with that we are able to work with the functions of that instance. Okay, so even let us keep a for loop and check whether it is supporting to print more than one time or not. So less than sorry, I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10. That means 10 times I am trying to get an instance. So let us check. The count is only 1. So instance is getting created only once. So this code is very helpful whenever you want to iterate or perform the transactions with a class by creating object. So instead of that creating object every time, so this particular singleton method, singleton design pattern will give you an process that, so calling a function without creating multiple objects. So that is the use of this singleton design pattern. So I hope it is clear to you. So now let us go with the next topic, that is data structures. So guys, coming to the data structures, I just want to tell you, so some of them are already explained at the time of collections topic. So once again let us go in detail. So data structures are of two types. So data structures are nothing but the storage types, how we are going to manage the storage of particular program. So that is what the data structures. So data structures basically of two types, linear and non-linear. So coming to linear types, so in linear we have array, stack, queue and linked list. If you recollect, at the time of collections all these programs are covered. So for your clarification, I am going to recollect that particular topics once again. So coming to this non-linear structures, we have graphs and trees. Okay. So on our assessment point of view, only trees are required. So graphs is optional, so that you can have a self-learning on this. So I'm going to cover trees in this particular video, and along with these linear structures, array, stack, queue and linked list. So let's have some program so where you can understand what is an array and what is a stack, queue, linked list and all those. So first let us try to understand about an array. So guys, I'm clearly telling you about one thing. So before having an array, so we have the concept called variable. So a variable can store only a single value. So whenever it is in a case of multiple values, this array is not sufficient for us. So at that time, so we had designed this particular arrays topic. So whenever we are going to create an array, so in system heap memory, so system is going to occupy the continuous memory locations like this. So where it is going to store multiple values, not the single one, we can store multiple values inside an array. So that is the advantage of an array compared with a variable. So whenever we have multiple locations here, in order to store a value here or in order to store a value here, it is difficult. We cannot assign like a variable. So for variables, we can simply write a is equal to 25, then particular value is getting saved in that particular memory location. So coming to this arrays, so in here we are going to have multiple memory locations. That is the reason you cannot able to store a value directly. So we need something to where we can perform the transactions with this particular memory locations. So then we'll have an index. So index always will start with 0 and it is going to keep on incremental till the time whatever the size minus 1. So we can when the size is n, so till n minus 1 from 0, so you are able to operate all the memory locations. So the advantage of array is you can store multiple values, so where you can replace the value by using the index also. So coming to the disadvantages, always array will prefer to store only one particular data type elements, it won't support for multiple. So that's a problem with array. And one more thing, while creating an array, you need to mention how many locations, I mean how many memory locations required to you. So this size is fixed and this is not flexible. You cannot increment or you cannot decrement this particular value according to the requirement after initializing. So that's a problem with an array. And one more thing, so array don't have any predefined searching or sorting techniques to finding out an element. So but in C#, as I already discussed, this problem was overridden. So only we have two things, array size is not flexible and it can store only one data type element. That is the problem with an array. So let's have a program with an array once again, so you can recollect how to create an array once again. So arrays can be declared like this. So so you can stick on for one particular data type. So string, so some names equal to new string of whatever the data type. So here you need to mention how many memory locations you require. So suppose I am giving 5. So then I can add the values like this, names of 0. So some name like the same, names of 1, and you can add some name like that. You need to repeat it for names of till names of 4. So because the array index always start with 0, so that is going to be available till whatever the size of the array minus 1. So And one more thing, array index cannot be operated by the compiler in runtime, even if you see. So names of 5 means it is a sixth element of the array, but it can hold only 5 locations, right? So it won't get any error while writing the code at the time of runtime. So system is going to give you an error. So where that is array index out of bounds and exception. You can see this. If we are trying to load a value, so at this particular location you will get an exception. You can see this. So that is system dot index out of range exception. So because you had given a wrong index. So if it is 5 locations, you are able to enter like this. So just assume if the size is 500, you cannot write this from 0 to 499 lines. So that is the reason you need to make a loop statement, so that to store and retrieve the values from an array. So that is the reason first I am trying to ask the length, even this length from the end user, so that it is going to be useful as per the user requirement. So here we are asking enter array size. So after seeing this, user will enter some value. I am trying to store it in the variable n. So since index always a number, we are trying to convert it into integer format. So console dot read line, whatever the value entered by the user, that is going to be converted into an integer format. So instead of this fixed value, let us give this value which we are reading from end user. So this is how array can be constructed. So instead of string, you can use any data type, that is int, string, float, double, boolean, or even object format also. It will support all the data types. So now let us read values into an array. So we need to use a for loop where it will always start the initial value with 0. It is going to repeat till n-1 we have to repeat. So that is the reason we are using less than. So let us get the length of the array, that is going to be helpful. So if here we have n, you can pass sometimes. So if you have an array, in case if you want to get the length, so then you can use the property whatever the array name dot length, that is going to get the dynamic size. So now let us read the value. So console read line, suppose enter name. So whatever the name entered by the user along with the index, so index value will be repetitive from 0 to n-1. So first time it will be 0, then 1, 2, it is going to keep on repetitive. So here we are going to store the value by using console read line, whatever the value entered by the user. So since my array type is string, I am not converting it in any other format. If it is an integer, so this console read line need to be converted in either integer or whatever the respective format we are trying to take. Okay, so now let's execute as of now. So here I am giving array size 2, some name. So that's it. So you had given the size 2, so that it was repetitive for 2 times. So index 0, index 1. Now let us print the values on the screen. So values in names array example. So again, in case if I want to print, I need to write names of 0, names of 1, names of 2 till names of n-1. That's also not a proper format of writing the code. So again I am taking and for loop, so where we can take names dot length. So let's print this names of I value will be 0, 1, 2, it will be repetitive till n-1. So now let me execute once again. Array size 3, so name from John. So now you can see all the values will be fetched like this. So there is another way. Instead of getting the values through this for loop, you can also use a for each loop. So that's the reason I am trying to print the statement by using for each loop. So for each, So you will take whatever the respective format of the collection. So the collection here, the name is names. So names is of string array, right? So here you can take string, or else you can keep the var also. So string name. So one name from this names array will be copied to this name iterative. Those will be iterative. So we start with index itself in the background. So now you can print by using the console write line. So now you can execute once again. So now you can see these two we got with for loop, these two we got with for each loop. Okay. So as I already explained about this, so here in every array, so there are some searching and sorting techniques available. So you can use array.sort method, so where this will sort you an array in an ascending order automatically. So now if you print by using for each, these two will get sorted in an order. So array size I am giving 3. So now you can see these two, if you observe this order, this is the original order which was printed by using for loop. So if you observe this, these elements are arranged in an ascending order. So whenever you use this particular sort method, so this is going to arrange the data, I mean array elements in an ascending order. In case if you want to print it in descending order, so you can simply write array.sort of, so whatever the array name, so then the array will get, sorry, not sort, it is reverse. So the array will get in reversed order. After making it an ascending and reversing, that will become descending order. So let's observe carefully. Array size 3. So if you see this, it is descending order, where it was started with B, H and J. Okay, this is how array can be operated. So I hope it is clear to everyone. So now we had covered array in this linear structure. Now let us work on this stack. Yeah, so next one, stack. So for implementing stack, you need to understand how it will behave. So stack work with a formula, last in first out. So let me show you it in diagrammatic. So if you observe this, so stack will be like this. So where one side open will be there, I mean diagrammatical representation, and so the insert operation can be called push. So the delete operation can be called pop. So peek is current element. So whatever the element that we are working with, that is what called peek. Okay. So this is the behavior of the stack. So we already covered a program earlier. So let's observe carefully how it will behave. So stack. So you can limit for one data type. So because this is a template type, so stack string some ss equal to new stack of string ss dot push. So as I said, push is the insert operation. So you can insert only string values because we had selected the data type as string. So that is the reason 1. So 2, 3. So like that we can insert the values by using the push operation, push method I mean to say. So let's print the values as of now. So again for each, so you can take the string data type because the collection is of string. So s in ss, some example. So console write line of s. Now if you print, you can see the order. So 1, 2 and 3. So it starts from the bottom. Okay. So if you delete, the first 3 will be deleted. I mean if you perform the pop operation, So then 2 will be deleted, then 1 will be deleted. The drawback of the stack is, so in case if you want to delete the first element, you have to delete all elements. That's a problem. Otherwise you need to maintain another stack, and while deleting you need to insert into the another one. So that is a complex operation. Every time you cannot operate with multiple stacks, correct? So you need, your requirement need to be fulfilled with one particular data structure, but stack won't perform that operation. So let us perform the pop operation, ss.pop. So pop is going to delete the first last inserted element, so that is what, 3. So now if you see the output, you can see only 1 and 2, because the third element, recent inserted element, will get deleted first. So this is the behavior of the stack. Okay, now next go for the another type, that is what called queue. So queue is also similar to the stack, but only thing is, so when you delete an element, the order of deletion is different. So you can see this is a stack where you will have two side entry. So insert operation will called enqueue, delete operation will called dequeue. So you can see insert will be happen like this. Whenever you delete, it is going to delete from this side. So first inserted element will be get deleted first. So first in first out we can call as per the formula. So q, some q1 is equal to new q, sorry, it's queryable, I am sorry. So q of string is equal to new q. I am creating an object. So as I said, enqueue is an insert operation. So here also let's delete, let's say insert 1, 2, 3. So let us print by using a for each loop. So for each, here you can take var. So instead of var you can also take q, string, because the data type is string. So let us print the elements from the queue. So console write line of queue. So now if you see, the order will be from the top 1, 2 and 3. So if I delete any element, as I said, first inserted element will get deleted first. So the operation name is dequeue. So if I execute, so you can see 1 was deleted, 2 and 3 are the result now. So guys, I just want to tell you one thing, even if you use stack or queue, so these are not flexible for us, because whenever you want to delete a specific element in between, so it is not possible, it won't allow us to, these two won't allow us to do that operation. So that is the reason you won't use this stack and queue also. So now let's move for the next one, that is linked list. So linked list will be similar to array only, but the thing is, linked list won't prefer for the elements which are memory location side by side. So it will collect the data which is available in the heap memory. So that is going to occupy all the memory locations by connecting each element with another. So let me show you this. Suppose this is the memory location, you can call heap memory, and we have certain memory locations available where, let's take squares itself. So this is one memory location, and this is another, and this is another, and this is another. Only these memory locations are available, these are not continuous. So let's take it an example, x102, x306, x705, 705, so x909, something. So these are not continuous memory locations, I am trying to explain you. So now, so this is whenever you are going to initialize a linked list, the system will collect all the memory locations like this. So that is going to reference all of them. So every memory location will contain two partitions or two portions, you can call. Okay, so one will be dedicatedly for the values. So dedicatedly for the values, like if you store some 10, 20, 30 and 40. So like this you are trying to store the memory locations, you are trying to store the data. So and the other part is available for storing the adjacent memory locations. So now this is going to store some x306 beside element, so x705, so x909. Whenever there is no memory location, in our technical format you can call it is null, that can be treated as last location or the end element as per programming. So now if you observe carefully, so these two are got connected by the address of this element. So these two are connected by the address and these are connected by address. So these are interlinked each other to form a collection of the data. So this is how we will implement the linked list. Okay. So linked list is having several types also. So now let me show you the diagrammatically again. So this is single linked list, guys. So you will have one element and address of the next element, data and address of the next element, like that. So whenever it is null, you can treat it as a last one. This is single linked list. So now we have another, that is what double linked list. So where it is going to store two things. So now it will have the previous address and the next address too. So previous address will be null and last address will be null, next address will be null for this. So these two are got connected by previous and next address storing. So at this element previous will be null, next will be address of this 20 element. So now previous address, this address of the 10 will be stored here, here address of the 30 will be stored here. So this is what called double linked list, where you can find the address of the previous and the next element. With the help of them only you are able to implement the collection. So that is what we can call double linked list. And we have one more, circular linked list. These two will get connected. So the last element, the first element will get connected together. So that is going to call circular linked list. You can see. So the next element will be the address of the first one. So then it is going to be a circular one. So that is the reason we'll call them it as a circular linked list. Okay. So now let us implement this particular linked list through the C# program and try to understand what are the changes and all those. So linked list I am going to implement not with the previous existing one, guys. Let us implement by the program itself, so that it will be useful to understand. So program will be a bit lengthy and be conscious on this. So first let us create a public class node. So node is nothing but this whatever the elements you are seeing, that is what technically called as node. So this is useful even the next program whatever we are going to cover, that is what binary search tree also. So that is what node. So inside the node you will have only one element. I am implementing single linked list, guys. That is the reason public node. So you can call this is next element address, that is also going to be a node type, right? So we'll have the second, excuse me, we'll have the second one, that is what object data. So that's it, right? So in linked list you will have one address of the next one, so or else the next node. So what is the current data in the current node? So this is we are going to have. Now let us implement public class linked list. I think it will take a previous name. Yeah, linked list. So in this you will have node head. So I hope you understand what is head as I shown you in the diagram. So let me show you once again. So this can be called head. Head is the starting element or whatever the element that is at the beginning. So that we can call it is head. So next let us implement a method where you can print all the nodes. So public void print all nodes. Okay. So here you need to take the type node. I am giving the current node as head node. whatever the starting node is there, that I am making as a beginning node, I am assigning. So because the type will be node itself, right? Node will contain one address and one data. So here let me use a while loop because we don't know how many will be there. So current not equal to null, till the time you find out there is no address, then that is going to be the last element, right? So you are trying to print, so current dot data, so this data object whatever we are trying to take, that data we are trying to print on the screen, that means the values will be printed on the screen. So then current equal to current dot next element, so then we are moving it to the next element, that is what called next, that is the node type again. So this is how you are moving from one element to another element with the help of moving by using the next node. Okay, so now next let us go for the next method. So how to add an element at the first. So if you remember the collections concept, at the time of collections I said, so linked list values can be inserted by using two methods, either by using add first or else by using add last. So void add first. So to insert any node, any value, so we require some data. So why we are taking object means, so linked list will store all the data types, it is not limited for one particular data type like an array. So that is the reason we are taking this type object. Okay. Excuse me. So now node to add, so the element need to be get added. So new node, we are creating an object. So let us implement the values, or else let us implement here itself. Let me try like this. Yes, we have. So data equal to whatever the data that we are getting it here. Let me take underscore, otherwise you will get confused with this. So underscore data. Okay. Next, in this we have the another element, that is what next equal to head value, whatever the head is there, that value we are going to utilize it again. So after this operation, the head will be become the next element, right? So head is equal to add. So this is how you can insert an element. Now let us implement the function add last also. You can use any one, that is fine, but add last also need to be implemented. So public void add last. So for add last also we need to insert the data. So this is bit bigger one. So because we need to search whether head is empty or not. So if head equal to null, there are no elements, I mean to say. So then head equal to new node, then we are initializing, that is the initial node. Okay. So and we need to initialize with the values again. So when there are no elements, if this is the first element, let us insert the data as the current data that we want to insert, and next equal to null. So because that is the first node, right, there will be no last node for that. That is the reason the address of the next adjacent element will be null. Suppose if you have any value, then we'll go with else block. So if this is the first node, so you are initializing, use this data as the first node, and the next element is empty. So node, so again to add is equal to new data, sorry, new node. Here we can insert data as this current data. Now this is optional, guys. If you want to use, you can, no issue. So now node current node equal to this head node, while current dot next not equal to null, because we are inserting at the ending, right? So current element equal to current dot next element. So now the next element also will be this element. So this to add will be the next element. So whenever we don't have any value, so then we are initializing next value as the current element. So we are assigning this value to the next adjacent element. So this will become the last one. Now let us call from the main method with add first method. We are implementing this. So linked list. So guys, make sure the classes even from the predefined will have the same type. Okay, so make sure your project dot linked list will be there, otherwise let's give this L as small. So linked list list 1 equal to new linked list. So let us insert this list 1 dot add first of, let us insert the values 1, 2 and 3. So after adding all these three elements, let us print all of them on the screen. Oh sorry, list 1 dot print all nodes. Let's print as of now. So 1 2 3 will get printed because we are inserting them from the first. So first 1 will be inserted here, when 2 was inserted 1 will be moved here. So when 3 was inserted 1 will be moved here. So this is add first method. Now let's see how add last method will be there. So console write line with add last. So again let's take one more linked list object, linked list list 2 equal to new linked list list 2 dot add last. We are using add last method this time, so that is 1 2 and 3. So after that let's print all the nodes, list 2 dot print all nodes. Now let's execute. So you can see 1 2 3 from the bottom if you use add first, if you use add last, so 1 2 3 in this order it is going to be. So it will be moved from bottom to top, so top to bottom. So that is what the behavior of add first and add last. So I hope this is clear. So this is how actually linked list will work. So now we can go with the next topic, that is what called trees. So graphs is not required, this is an optional topic. In case if you want to go with, you can have a self-learning on this. So let's go with trees. This is important in an this assessment point of view. So this is non-linear. Linear means you will have one by one in a single line order. So trees will be, you know how a tree will be. Let me show you diagrammatically. So trees will be useful for sorting the data. So this is binary search tree. So you can observe this. This is tree going to be. So binary search tree will have two nodes. One is left node and right node. So as per this diagram, if you see, we are going to implement the binary search tree. So you can see always system search for middle element. So among with that it is going to sort the values. So let's implement the binary search tree, and guys you need to remember one thing. So whenever you have exactly two child nodes for every element, that is going to called originated binary search tree, or else you can call original binary tree. Original binary tree will have every at every node you will have two child nodes will be there, must, without fail. So this first element can be called technically as a root element. So whenever you have two children, so that is going, whenever you have a children, so that can be called a parent element. Here 14 and 28 can be called parent elements. So because 14 contains 11 and 18, so 28 contain 25 and 32. So if you observe carefully, always the binary tree is going to save its data. So as per the order, so left side you will have the smaller values, right side you will have the higher values. So remember this point, okay. So along with this, we are trying to implement the program. So let me create a new console application. So program will be a bit lengthy, guys, but try to understand. It is a very simple program only. So first let us take class node. So node, in the sense, here this particular element can be called as a node. So in this node, compare with this previous linked list, you will have different elements will be available. So that is what, let me take the properties int data, the data that you want to store it. So properties node. So you will have two things, one is left node, another one is right node, right? So properties node, and this is going to be right node. So let us create a constructor, empty constructor for this, and a parameterized constructor also. So this is empty, and now we are implementing parameterized. So in this parameterized, let us pass the data. So whatever the data that you will receive, that assign to the property data itself here. Okay. So this is how you will implement node element. Now we have to create the binary tree. So public class binary tree. So here we have node root. So I already said, so whatever the starting element is there, mid element, that can be called a root element. Okay. So root, let us create a constructor. So by default, root we are assigning as null whenever you create object for binary tree. Okay. So now let us implement the method insert. So how to insert the data? Public void insert. So to insert, what we require? Data. So how to implement insert method? If root equal to null, if there is no element, so then root equal to new node of data. New node of data. So when there is no root element, so pass this value and treat it as a root element. So if you already have an element, so then call some method insert data. So pass root node and new node of data. So we have to implement this function now. So if you have, okay, then you need to create a method to insert the values. So insert, so before that void insert data. So where you have root and new node. So we are passing root node, so our parent node. So what is the node to insert? So that we are trying to pass. So again here you need to check if root equal to null. So if in the tree, if there is no node, so then assign root equal to new node. So when root is empty, when there are no elements in the tree, so then assign the current node as the root. If new node dot data less than the root node, suppose data, whatever the data that you are trying to pass, that is less than the root element data, so then again you need to check one more thing. If root dot left equal to null, so then root dot left equal to new node. So that means if there, excuse me, if there is no left element for the current node, this root node, so then we are assigning this inserting node as into left. Okay, then else insert data of, this is a recursive function guys, so root dot left, this left data we are trying to call recursively so that it will insert the value new node. Okay, so suppose if it is greater than that one, then it need to be inserted at the right. Okay, so if root dot right equal to null, so this time if there is no node at the right side, so then root dot right equal to new node, so then assign this as in the right hand side. If not, if right is also already filled, so then let us call the recursive method again, insert data of root dot right. So then we are trying to pass this value and we are trying to pass the data that we are sending. That's it guys. So this is how you can implement. So majorly you need to understand this logic. So observe twice and execute more than 2 times, then you will understand this one. So let's implement the method to print. Public void display tree. So for this we need one more recursive method, so that is the reason display. So you are trying to pass node some root, sorry, so here you will call display of root. So here you need to write the logic to print. So again here you need to check if root equal to null, then return empty, no data. So otherwise display of root dot left, first print the left one. So console write root dot data, because we need to see the value, right? So data to be printed. So let me write like this. So we are trying to print the data by space for the next element. So then recursive function to display of root dot right element. So we'll print the left element and the data and the right element. So this is how you can use the display method. So now let us implement the code. Let us call the code console dot read key to see the output. So before that let's print binary tree. So some bt equal to new binary tree. So node root is equal to new node. As of now no values will be there, let's pass empty. So now insert by using the insert method. So insert, where is this insert method? I didn't keep public or what? Yeah, it's public only. Sorry. So insert. So let us pass some value 40, some 22, 15, 19, 32. I am passing some elements randomly. So dt dot display tree. So that's it guys. Now let's execute. So you can have all these values but in a different order. So you can see it was in a sorted order: 15, 19, 22, 32, 40 and 40. So this is how it is going to be printed. So I hope this topic is clear. So make sure that you need to understand one more time, I am telling you. So if you observe here, it is left side always it will prefer to store the least value, right side it will try to print the highest value. So this is how binary search tree will be helpful for us. So I hope it is clear to everyone. So please practice and let me know if you have any queries. Thank you.